They took my life savings like enemy troops taking a fortress. Precise, cold, and entirely without remorse. 10 years. $2.3 million. A decade of early mornings, late nights, bus fares, packed lunches, and counting every cent like it was ammunition. They think money appears. They think loyalty is automatic. They think blood ties give them the right to drain the life out of someone. They were wrong. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you, parents, family, people who smiled while stealing, listen. This is not a meltdown. It's a campaign report, a battlefield memoir. I call it Operation Reclaim. The alert came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was behind the pharmacy counter, Morrison's, explaining medication dosages to a man whose hands trembled. The fluorescent light over the counter hummed. The prescription bottle clicked as I closed it. My phone buzzed. A tiny, ordinary sound. Withdrawal of $240,000 processed. Time collapsed into a throat-clenching silence. When the world returned, it was warped, like looking through a lens smeared with oil. Walter, the man at the counter, asked if his blood pressure meds would interact with his new supplement. The words were distant. The world was a map with one red dot. I ran. Not dramatic, purposeful. 40 minutes on the bus felt like an infiltration. Slow, deliberate, every stop a potential ambush. I kept refreshing the app, refreshing like a sentry scanning the horizon. 0. 10 years of sacrifice, gone. Vaporized in an instant, I burst through the front door as if it were an opposing gate. The living room looked ordinary. A lamp, a throw pillow, framed photos where everyone smiles as if nothing was wrong. Joyce scrolled through her phone. Adam read his paper with that infuriating calm. The calm of a man who has rehearsed the lie. "Where's my money?" I asked, voice steady until it wasn't. Adam folded his paper the way a commander folds a map before giving orders. His laugh came slow and smug. "Thank you for your naivety, Helen," he said. "Your money guarantees Lauren's future." Joyce looked at me like I was a child who'd broken a toy. "A girl like you would have wasted it," she said. "You don't have the judgment to manage that much money. If you've ever been underestimated, you know the fragrance of that moment. Arrogance mixed with entitlement." They were certain of victory. They'd already written the victory speech. I laughed. Not a small laugh. A low, controlled laugh, because they had just walked into a trap they couldn't see. They blinked. Confusion threw off their practiced composure. "Did you take the money from the wrong account?" I asked. Adam's face blanched. For a second, he looked like a man who had been hit where it hurt. "What are you talking about?" He snapped. "That account you emptied?" I said. "That was bait. Let me take you back. 10 years is long enough to plant a life and watch it grow. At 20, I got my first job at Morrison's Pharmacy. $800 a month. My parents instituted something they called the family contribution. I handed over 80% of my pay as if it were a duty. The math was simple. Give, give, give. I learned to survive on less. 2 buses a day, long shifts on my feet, sandwiches for lunch. Meanwhile, Lauren, the golden child, never worked. Private school, cars, trips, designer everything. I built a covert operation. Weekends at Romano's restaurant became my second front. 500 extra a month, pushed into an account they never knew existed. I lived like a ghost. No new clothes, no nights out, counting bus fare like it was gold. When I was promoted to assistant manager at 25, and my paycheck jumped to $4,500, Joyce and Adam immediately raised my contribution. They never asked, they took. I started freelance bookkeeping, another income stream that flowed secretly into my hidden accounts. At 27, while helping Joyce organize tax papers, I found the dossier, copies of my banking info, statements, my social security number, even my birth certificate. They'd been watching my accounts since I was a minor. They weren't protecting me, they were marking their quarry. That's when the motive came into focus. Medical school for Lauren, private, 6 years, tuition in the hundreds of thousands. The plan was obvious. Raid my savings. I didn't confront them. I planned. I opened an online-only account tied to a friend's address. I constructed a mirror, a bait account that looked real, full of smoke and mirror transfers, temporary credit lines, pre-approved balance illusions. I fed the bait. Statements left in visible places, casual talk about savings when they were around. Meanwhile, the real money, my $2.3 million, moved to vaults and investments they could never trace. For 3 years, I executed a slow, surgical deception. Every step was a small, boring ritual. Tracking, transferring, recon. Like a strategist rehearsing moves in a war game, I set traps, and every breadcrumb I left was carefully chosen to lure them. They struck on my 30th birthday. They walked into the bank with forged documents and my signature. They thought they were getting away with the perfect heist. They thought they were rescuing their daughter's future. They didn't know the withdrawal they made was from the bait account, an expensive decoy built from their own expectations. When I told them, Adam's face went white. Joyce's phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor with a precise, heavy clack. I pulled out my phone and slid video after video across the screen. Bank cam footage, timestamps, the forged paperwork, the text trail. Calm, concise, evidence. I'd filed a police report an hour earlier. A chess player sees the checkmate before the opponent feels the corner tighten. You have until noon tomorrow to return every penny, or I hand everything to the DA, I told them. They cried. They wailed about family, about doing what was best for Lauren. When did you ever think about my future? I asked, and the silence was the only answer I needed. Lauren walked in then, jingling the keys to a brand new BMW like a girl reclaiming a prize. She looked at me with that perfect blend of entitlement and hurt. Helen, you're being so selfish, she said. You always were jealous. I called my lawyer, Peter, on speaker. He'd been assembling a case for months. Criminal complaints drafted, civil filings ready, witnesses lined up. The complaint went live. The police moved like a coordinated unit. By 11:47 the next morning, Adam was on the phone, voice shaking. The money was back. I checked my account. $1,800,000 had been returned to the bait account, but I didn't withdraw the complaint. 2 hours later, Detective Noah Rodriguez and his partner arrived with a warrant. The neighborhood came outside to watch. The spectacle of the comfortable humbled. Joyce and Adam were led away in handcuffs. Lauren signed papers to return the car. Their friends at the country club read the paper with faces they could not hide. The headline said, "Local couple arrested for stealing daughter's life savings. They had to liquidate retirement funds." They sold the vacation house. Foreclosure papers lined their mailbox like a new kind of paper trail. Reputation dissolved. Lauren dropped out of medical school. The future they thought they were securing vanished into legal fees and restitution. I took the real $2.3 million and bought independence in cash. A 3-bedroom colonial with a small garden and sunlight in the kitchen where ghosts couldn't follow. Deed in my name. No mortgage. No strings, no guilt. I moved the same day, taking only what I needed and leaving behind everything that tied me to their world. People ask me, was I cruel? Did I go too far? Did I become what they accused me of? Here's the thing. For 10 years, I was their ATM, their invisible worker, their silent sacrifice. I didn't want them punished for pain's sake. I wanted to reclaim my life and make sure they couldn't use my blood to buy their comfort again. The $1.8 million they returned, I turned it into a weapon of a different kind. I donated every penny to a scholarship fund for students from low-income families, kids who deserved a shot because they had earned it, not stolen it. That money, taken from me, would not be reabsorbed into the machine that created the harm. I turned their greed into opportunity for people they would never have considered. 3 months later, I wake up in my house with my name on the deed. My morning begins with coffee and sunlight, not with the dread of being called upon to fill someone else's life with money. I changed my phone numbers, blocked the past, transferred my job, and moved across the country. I started over. Small victories built my new life. A garden that won't be sold at auction. A library of books I actually read. A kitchen I could own without apology. Sometimes I think about the girl who counted bus fares and wondered if a life like this would ever come. She probably wouldn't recognize me. Stronger, quieter, patient. Smart enough to turn their greed against them. Free enough to walk away. Revenge, I discovered, wasn't the aim. The campaign's endgame was reclamation. My time, my peace, my future. The operation wasn't about cruelty. It was about strategy. It was about refusing to be someone else's livelihood. They thought they were securing a future for their daughter. I secured mine.